Greetings and welcome to Let's Talk About Books, baby, where we talk with your favorite LGBTQ authors. This is Anita Kelly, and my guest today is Aoife Sheridan. Hi, Aoife.
Hey, Anita. Lovely to meet you. And thank you so much for inviting me on the podcast. I'm really thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Well, I am so happy to have you here with us today. It is great to talk to you. It's my pleasure, my honor.
Awesome.
So, Aoife, I love your accent. Got to tell you that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's a good Irish brogue from Dublin. Been in New York for 3.5 years, so haven't lost my Irish brogue yet. So I think I'll try and hang on to it. It's definitely an accent that seems to be quite popular in the New York area.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So I gotta say, my people hail from the County Kerry.
Ah, okay. So in the Southwest, probably one of our most beautiful counties in Ireland, actually. It's absolutely stunning there.
Yeah. I have to agree. I want to get back
Excellent.
there. Yeah, definitely.
Do. It's only getting better. So yeah, keep going.
And Dublin's a fun city too.
Yeah, it is a fun city. I mean, I grew up there. I always say, maybe you need to grow up there to love it. But it's not like a beautiful city per se, but it is just full of beautifully funny, comedic people. And I think there's it's a very interactive city. So you will always come away with some amazing memories if you go there to visit, which I think is really great.
Yeah, definitely. So, Aoife, you have a book called Cut the Blue. Is that right?
Correct. That's correct.
Oh.
Yeah. That was my first novel. And great fun. It was kind of one of those things where I, was approaching 40. I always thought I want to write a novel. Felt I had one in me somewhere. I didn't know what it was going to be about. And I actually had a bit of a break between two jobs. So I had the kind of security of not having to look for a job. I knew one was starting about 4 months later. And I said, okay, why don't I have a crack at writing this book I've been talking about or thinking about for a long time, and did a bit of research online about how do you write a book, and literally typed those words into Google and read a few books. I think Stephen King's On Writing was one I read, which was great. And generally the thing was like, just, start writing and write something, quantity versus quality, and then also write something, so I would be a voracious reader of, thrillers, spy novels, mysteries, crimes, but also kind of comedic crimes. And that's kind of where I landed with Cut the Blue. It is a kind of comedic crime caper, if you will. It's set in Dublin, again, writing what I knew. And it's based on a character called Floss McFarland, who is this kind of unusual character who comes from a very kind of conservative family in Dublin. And when we meet her, she's kind of thrown in her very lucrative actuarial job in an insurance company to become a private investigator. And obviously everybody thinks she's crazy. And kind of when we meet her, she's 2 years into that journey, I guess. And she's also beginning to question why she left her well-paid job. Because she's dealing with kind of small little kind of trite cases, missing pets, cheating spouses, that type of stuff. And I guess at the outset of the novel, two kind of cases pop into her inbox or into her lap. And there's kind of, if you like, plot A and plot B. Plot B is really just around a insider trading case, which is related to her previous career. And then plot A, the main thread, is around a missing person. So a young Russian woman called Anna who goes missing, and her best friend enlists Floss and the team at Cut the Blue Investigations to help her find her friend Anna. And that's really the gist of the book. There is a whole host of characters, kind of, I call them quirky Dublin characters, who support Floss in her pursuits. And also there's, as with most novels, you kind of like to insert some sort of romantic interest, and I kind of wanted to do something that just had a little bit of a twist to it. So Floss herself is, considers herself very heterosexual, parents are very straight, sister's a kind of alpha female, very straight, and she kind of sees herself that way, fancies the local celebrity private investigator Milo McCarthy, who's kind of this Dublin rogue, but very charming and a bit of a rascal. She can't help fancying him, but at the same time, she finds herself kind of all of a sudden deeply, deeply. Everybody's always plumping for Tash, but she's this kind of Lara Croft, James Bond, but with a nice kind of sensitive side to her. So she was a great, really fun character to write. And I guess a lot of the novel in the backstory to the cases is really just kind of Floss kind of coping or really not coping with that whole, I guess, realization that she might be able to have feelings for a woman. So yeah, it was just lots of fun to play with.
Oh, that sounds great. It really does. It sounds like there's some adventure in it, and humor and romance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is. I mean, what I wanted to, if you think about it, it's like, if you only read Margaret Atwood, this is definitely not for you. I wanted it to be kind of escapist and fun and not too heavy on the, the thriller or crime side of it. Even though it is a serious topic, it's not, it's not trite by any stretch. But I just wanted it to be fun and a page turner that people could dive into it and forget about life for a while and have a bit of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. So when did Cut the Blue come out? When did you publish that?
It's actually about, I was trying to look up, actually, it's about 8 years old now, I think.
Wow.
So, I'm horrified to find that 8 years have passed since it went out. But I do have a second book that's currently in train, and it is a follow-up to Cut the Blue. It's taken a lot longer than I would have liked. Part of that is day job related, and part of it is because I wanted it to be the next in the series, but I also wanted to kind of stand on its own 2 feet, so that if somebody picked it up in a library, they would be able to read it without needing to have read the first one. So that was actually, very difficult, versus writing the first one. You've got basically a blank page in front of you. You can just go nuts and you don't have to have any continuity. But that kind of continuity thing definitely took me a long time to figure out. And then I had a bit of free time over the last few years in New York and definitely got a bit more time focused on it. So I'm pretty happy. I hope we target getting out early in the new year. So I'm kind of at second draft phase at the moment. So that's great.
Great. I look forward to that. Do you have a title for that one?
It's a working title and it's pretty awful. At the moment, it's called Splice the Nice, which doesn't make any sense at all. But I do have a friend who's a writing coach, a fantastic chap called Chris Wells. And I've asked him to kind of have a think about the title with me as well. He's also going to have a look at the novel just in general. He's a super character and super helpful. He's just great to bounce ideas off. But yeah, Splice the Nice is the working one. And we'll see how I feel about that. Cut the Blue was, I almost had the title before I started because I knew it was about that kind of, cut the blue wire, cut the red wire, defusing a bomb situation and you're just like, oh, just cut the blue, just do that.
Okay.
And that was that, Floss's decision to kind of basically uproot her life and her nice comfy career and go into a business by herself as a PI. So
okay, got it. All right. So Splice the Nice. I don't know. It could work.
Yeah. How does it sound to you? No, you're not sure.
I'm not sure what it means, but
neither am I. Maybe that's part of the problem.
I guess I interpret that as like cut the nice in half, divide it.
Yeah, I almost can't say too much about it because that's part of this part of the plot in it as well. So, but it's
maybe it works.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad.
Watch this space.
It's difficult to write a sequel, right? Because you have to, if you're having those same characters move forward, you have to do a lot of character development that you wouldn't normally have to do if you're just writing a standalone.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Then,
yeah. And you don't want to frustrate the other readers because you have to do a bit of background or context, and you don't want to frustrate readers who know the characters and know the background as well, and then you don't want to give away what happened in the first one. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting challenge for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So how has writing and publishing Out of the Blue changed your life?
I would say it hasn't really changed my life per se. I would say it has changed my mindset would be the way I describe it, because I was kind of barreling along. I'd write a bit of poetry and stuff like that, dabble and have a bit of fun with it, write some short stories, but never really anything serious. I loved English in school. And then once I started writing, it's like a valve is opened, and I think it's your right brain. I always never know it's left or right brain. I think the right brain is your creative one, and it's like it opens like Pandora's box. It's like, oh my God, I've got all this stuff and way of thinking inside me that has been kind of suppressed for the last 20 years, while I've been doing this, very day, clear black and white day job without a lot of creativity. So I think that was probably a huge piece. So that meant that, I'd be walking around when I was kind of in the middle of writing something, walking around listening to people, observing things with just a different lens than I would have been before. You're busy just trying to get from A to B and worrying about stuff and work, etc. So it was a lovely escape, and also just, I guess, a different mindset, and kind of wrote lots more poetry, just got involved with more writing groups as a result. So yeah, I think it's definitely become a super kind of means of an outlet from, I guess the day job for sure.
Yeah. What is the day job?
Well, it's actually a timely question that you should ask that, because in May, so I have been an IT technology consultant. So, okay. Did project management, account management, all sorts of various jobs. And then in May this year, I actually decided to take a bit of a breather. I turned 50, and one of those kind of watershed moments where you're thinking, what am I doing with my life, and why am I pedaling so fast in this? Why don't I go off and do something I want to do? Mm-hmm. And also to give me a bit more room to write as well. So actually over the summer, I signed up as an apprentice dog trainer with a fantastic organization in Manhattan, a small company run by Stacey Aldridge. She's an amazing person. So I just started doing that. So I spend my days with doggos, running around training and having great fun with them and their owners. And that's what I'm doing at the moment.
How fun. That is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm delighted. It's definitely not as lucrative. So it's definitely kind of life imitates art in terms of Floss McFarlane's decision. So maybe I took a bit of inspiration from her.
Yeah, I'll say. Really.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
There you go.
Yeah, that really is. And that seems more of a, I'll say of a creative job. It's not so scientific and,
absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's actually, it's a way less, pressurized, just much more fun. It's still very people oriented and I love working with people. If you've been in consulting all your life, you have to. And so because you're training the dogs, but you're also dealing with and training, their owners as well. So it's that's kind of the side of it that I really like as well. But I mean, I've loved dogs since I was, born. So I have my beautiful golden retriever lying by my side here at the moment. So it's all good.
Nice. Very nice. So you were born in Dublin, right?
Correct. That's right.
And you mentioned that Cut the Blue takes place in Dublin.
That's right. Yeah.
But you are no longer living in Dublin. So
correct.
Yeah. What influenced your decision to move to the US?
Yeah, it was actually a really straightforward one. So my wife, Melissa, and I, we've been together for about 13 years, but before we got together, we were both lived lots of different places, separately. So all loads of different countries, but we actually had never lived together, gone off on an adventure to live in a different country. And we both really enjoy that. It's such a nice way to experience a different culture and get to meet new people and have new experiences. And New York was always on our bucket list. It was like top of the list. Shanghai randomly as well. But Melissa works for LinkedIn, done a fantastic company. And she got a promotion and an opportunity, and she had the option to move to either New York or San Francisco. And we picked New York because it was on the bucket list, and also because it's a little bit closer to Dublin. So my mum and all my brothers and their families are in Dublin. So New York is a kind of handy hop back on a flight, whereas San Francisco is just that little bit longer, and even just for phone calls to stay in touch. So so that was in early 2019. We moved across, and just loving it. It's such a fantastic place. And it was actually not a bad place to be for COVID, because it opened up very quickly post-pandemic. And by that stage, we were lucky. We had a bunch of friends who we all kind of looked after each other and were each other's kind of, I don't know, pandemic bubble, and support groups. So it's been fun. It's never a dull moment in New York, that's for sure.
Wow, good for you. Do you appreciate that move, or do you miss things about Dublin?
I would say I don't necessarily miss places, and I've probably never been that person. It's not about the place; it's more about the people. So I definitely um miss people. Sometimes you're like, God, I'd love to go and have a pint with my friend Rona or Dervla or whoever, or hang out with my brothers and my mum. So there's definitely that side of it. But
Yeah.
again, since things have opened up, we can back and forth pretty quickly. My mum was out for my 50th birthday earlier this year, which was great.
Oh,
So
nice.
that keeps, if I get, as long as I get a little fix every now and then, that keeps me ticking along, which is
Oh,
nice.
okay, awesome. So your birthday's in May, you say.
That's right.
Are
Yeah,
you a
yeah.
Taurus?
I am a Taurus. Yeah, indeed.
Oh, okay. Are
Yeah.
you a stubborn Irish woman?
I would say I'd say, well, my wife would definitely say I'm a stubborn Taurine. 100% I definitely have. But the good side, I have the loyal side as well.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
no,
Yep.
it's
Yeah, and I only say that because I am also.
okay, there you go. We
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that. Are you stubborn as well, Anita?
You know, I like to say I'm determined.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. I
yeah,
like that. Maybe I'll use that. I'll
yeah.
borrow that phrase.
All right, there you go. It works. So, uh, since living in New York, right? Your name is Aoife, and it's spelled Aoife, which is right the Gaelic way of spelling it, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So it's like the Gaelic version of Eve or Eva. So yeah, it's I don't know, in New York, it's like New Yorkers are pretty good with it, actually. I
Really?
find, yeah, I would say because there's a huge Irish population here, you meet some people who've met another Aoife. But I would say that's about like 20%, like 2 out of 10 would, be able to pronounce it or have heard it before. But what New Yorkers do, which is pretty clever, they kind of just ignore my first name and use my family name. So like if I'm in a doctor's office, they'll like go, is Miss Sheridan here? And they'll just give up on the Aoife altogether. Whereas other places I've lived, like I lived in New Zealand for a long time, and there wasn't very many people in New Zealand, or Irish people, sorry, in New Zealand when I was there.
Yeah.
And Aoife was a completely different name, and it actually almost sounds like a Pacific Island name. So,
Yeah.
I was called Aoife, Aoife, Alf,
Yeah.
Effie. I mean, yeah, all sorts of names. So as soon as somebody had a go at it, you correct them and they would repeat it. But then as soon as people see it written down again, they just can't remember it. It's just whatever it is about the name. But if I'm spelling it phonetically, I always just say EEFA.
That's funny. That's how I phonetically spelled it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a nice icebreaker. It used to be a great icebreaker in business, because people would see your business cards, you used to carry those around back in the day, and people are like, what is that name? And, that would start the conversation going, which was always nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think business cards are a thing of the past?
I haven't had one in a while, actually. Yeah. So I
Yeah. I
think
think
they probably are, with kind of LinkedIn and signatures, and, it's kind of probably a bit of a waste of a tree, I think, at this stage.
Yeah, and I think since the pandemic, we haven't had a lot of human
reason to hand them
contact.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
There's no place to give them out.
E-
So
Exactly. Or they'd be kind of smothering them in, what you call that stuff, the hand sanitizer.
oh yeah, right.
The words would get blurred. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's true. So I have to tell you, I first saw you and your wife when you were on the show Room to Improve.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I can't believe somebody in America has seen that show. How
I
is that
love that
possible?
show. I love that show. So my wife and I, all we really watch is BritBox, Acorn TV.
Okay.
We love all the British, Irish, Scottish shows. Like,
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I see. So Room to Improve bubbled up there. And do you like the kind of design, home improvement style show as well?
yeah, definitely.
Cool.
And I don't know. What's your take on Dermot Bannon?
He is a like fantastic character. First of all, he is a brilliant architect. Some people hate him, some people love him. We absolutely loved him. Everything he does, we would have watched the show beforehand, before going on it, and loved pretty much everything he did.
Oh, good.
We're not like country cottage people. We're like kind of modern stuff, and yeah, he he is a brilliant architect. He is so funny and so much fun, and exactly as you see him on the show, that's exactly as he is in real life. There's no,
Cool.
difference. He's not a, you know, persona. And we'd be filming outside the house, and he would make all the time to stop and chat to people, and just a really
Oh,
nice guy. But like, I'm sure he's an absolute rogue as well. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
disaster at the budgeting, disaster at time management, project management. So, I'd be a project manager, so that was kind of tough. But he's just such a charming, funny, lovely fella that you just can't be annoyed with him for very long. So yeah,
Yeah.
look, we had a great laugh on the show. It was so much fun. It was a great experience, and we got an incredible house out of it. So I feel very, very lucky with that.
Yeah, he did a great job for you guys. He really did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was transformational.
Yeah. How did you have to like apply to be on the show and they just
We
picked?
did, yeah. It was just kind of, yeah, very. I don't know why we even thought of it. I think we're probably a bit strapped for cash, and you get the Dermot comes free with the show,
Oh,
and then you
okay.
also would get quite a huge discounts on all the contractors because they get effectively free coverage and exposure from the show, and it has a huge viewership in Ireland. Like it
Great.
was the second most popular program
Seriously.
at the time we were filmed. Yeah, it's absolutely massive. And so we basically, I was like, why don't should we put in an application and see where it goes? Didn't hear anything for ages, to the point where we actually engaged. We'd bought this funny little house, ugly little house, but sitting in a stunning location on the coast
Yeah.
in Dublin. And the we got an architect who was going to help us with that. We were paying him, obviously, and we were kind of in the planning process when Room to Improve rang and said, look, we think he'd be great for the show. And we said, sorry, we've started engaged. We're too far along with this existing architect, so we better just keep going with that. And about a month later, the planning kind of was rejected, and not just like rejected, it was like booted or batted out of the ballpark. They're like, there's no way this is going ahead. So we're kind of back to square one.
Oh
And
no.
almost like the same day or the next day, Room to Approve rang again. The producer rang and said, "Hey, look, we have one slot left on the next series, and it's a non-planning, so we can only work within the bounds of the house." And we were like, "Sign us up." We've already kind of spent money and we've got nothing for it. So planning, we're sick of planning. We don't want to do any more planning. So that's kind of how we landed. We had a chat with the producer, chat with Dermot, who for him, it was the project. It was such an interesting project for him.
Yeah.
And it was close to his home area in Dublin. So he was all over it. So yeah.
Nice. That was kind of serendipitous then that
Yeah, I
yeah.
always say it was kind of meant to be. Like the fact that they called us twice was kind of, I would say, probably unusual. So, and just that they had that one slot, so it was great.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, that was a good show. And I love him. He's I think sometimes he I don't know. Sometimes he's full of shite.
Yeah, yep, yeah. Couldn't have put it better myself.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
he is fun and he knows what he's doing. He's
yeah,
really good at what he does. So yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I'm like some of the best parts of the house were the kind of funny little touches he kind of came up with during the process. And they're some of my favorite parts of the house. Like he'd say, like, we need to put a bookshelf in here; it'll really finish it. And honestly, they're the things that really stand out now. So yeah, he's
Oh,
a
cool.
genius on the old architecture front.
Yeah, he is. That's great. That's awesome. So that's how I became acquainted with you. And
There you go. I
yeah.
was wondering how you came across me, actually,
Yep.
as soon as I'm not quite, world famous yet. So
Yep, that's it. Well, now you will be being on the show.
there you go. Yeah, catapult. People stop me in the street.
So, tell me what is it's called what Girls Right Now? What is that all
Oh, yeah.
about?
Yep. Yeah, so that is an organization, an amazing organization that I got involved with since I've been in New York. So I kind of wanted to do some volunteering, and I thought, like, why not do something that's related to writing, because it's, you know, probably a good use of my skills. And came across this organization through a friend of mine, the wonderful Cindy Ferron, and she introduced me to the program, which basically what they're about is they try and help girls, what they would describe as underserved communities, kind of find their creative writing voice through this kind of community and a platform and a whole network of mentors. And the girls or women, young women or women identifying are, from all walks of life, typically women of color or first generation immigrants or LGBTQ plus or underserved communities where they don't have, enough resources or opportunities, or kind of any mixture of all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea is they just give them the chance. You get paired. So I would have been a mentor in their Writing 360 program. So I was paired with a mentee, and you work together for a year. We've actually worked together for 2 years now, and you meet every week, not in the summer, but the rest of the year, every week for an hour, and you write together, and kind of spitball, have fun, chat, solve the world's problems, and also kind of work on their portfolio. So there's a couple of, I guess, assignments throughout the year, but then there's a whole pile of workshops to help kind of stimulate their creativity. I mean, it's an absolutely amazing organization. Like, do check it out. It's Girls Write, as in WRITE, org. Sorry, girlswritenow.org.
Okay.
And if you have interest in, or any of your listeners have any interest in becoming a mentor or mentee, it's an absolutely brilliant organization. And they used to be just in New York, but with the pandemic, they have remote participants now as well. So it's kind of much more broadly accessible across the country, which is great.
Wonderful. Wow, that sounds like an amazing program.
It is absolutely, like, honestly, I got as much, I don't know, maybe I got more out of it than my mentee, but I had so much fun, like they have you making podcasts or making, websites, or book covers, or just, and every meeting you meet, you start with like a writing prompt just to get your creative juices. So it was a brilliant way to kind of maybe still be doing my day job, but staying kind of connected to the kind of creative writing world if I wasn't getting around to doing my book. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that is wonderful. That's great. So I'm definitely going to check it out. It's called girlswritenow.com.
Girlswritenow.org.
.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
.org. All right. All right.
Yeah.
So is your wife supportive of your writing? Is she?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Look, I mean, if you met Mel, she's like this legendary character. She's absolutely amazing. And in fairness, when I started writing, I actually wrote it for her, not for her, but with her in mind. So I, was writing stuff that would make her laugh, stuff that would make her turn the page and keep reading, because she's not a huge reader. And so she was my first reader, and I hadn't told a soul that I was even going to write a book. I just kind of started doing it, and not even her, like, it was like a total experiment. But I gave her the first few chapters, and I could hear her giggling away while she was reading, and it was just a huge boost for my confidence, because I didn't think of myself as a writer. And yeah, it really gave me the encouragement to keep going. And even at the end, she was like, it's brilliant, it's brilliant. I was like, I don't believe you, because you're my wife and you love me too much. I have to give other people the chance to read it and get like some more objective readership. But yeah, no, she's amazing. She's always trying to find ways for me to get more time to write, which is great. You don't always have that.
No.
And yeah, so really, really lucky in that regard.
That's great. That's awesome. Nice. That's so sweet too, that you were writing with her in mind.
Yeah. No, it's actually a nice way, because otherwise you're thinking about who's my target audience, and it just gets a bit too, you might be trying to please everybody. So it made it easier for me anyway, that's for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great. That's a great idea too. Yeah, you're right. When you're trying to write, you're thinking about the audience. So if it's, it can be a little overwhelming, is this right? Is this,
sure.
But hey.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I was writing it, all the kind of vampire things, were coming out, and, some of the things I was researching were saying, vampire things are all the rage, but I was like, I don't know anything about, I can't write about vampires, so it was like, just stick to the knitting, I think is the phrase. So yeah.
Stick to the knitting. I like that. So, I read somewhere that your mom wrote a review on Cut the Blue. And
she did. Yeah. Uh-huh. No, it's kind of funny, I was, of all the people that I didn't want to read the book, my mum was probably the top of the list, right? Because, there's obviously a few steamier moments, kind of sex scenes in the book. And I remember actually when I wrote them, I, was writing, thinking, God, my mum may actually read this. And it was funny when Mel, my wife, read those chapters, she was like, do it again. You're writing as if your mum is standing over your shoulder. And I was like, she is.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so I had a few attempts at those. I'd say probably at least 3. to get them to an acceptable level that wasn't so mom friendly, but probably more reader friendly. So yeah, that was the story there. But no, she's amazing. She was making all of her friends buy the book. So yeah, she's an avid supporter. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Did that make you blush when your mom said, "Hey, I read your book"?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And, it wouldn't be her style, but I mean, it wouldn't be not her style, but it wouldn't be the top one she'd pick. But yeah, I think she was as surprised as I was that I wrote it. So it was kind of funny. Yeah,
Oh,
but she
that's
enjoyed
cool.
it.
Cool. Did your brothers read it?
They did. Yeah. Yeah. They all did. So yeah, that makes me
Wonderful.
blush even more. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I can't imagine my brothers reading a book I wrote. No way.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's awesome. So, Aoife, that's about all the time we have for today. But
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much. Really enjoyed the chat, Anita, and I'll continue to listen into the show.
yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. It has been a pleasure talking with you. And listeners, Aoife Sheridan is our author today, and her book is called Cut the Blue. Check it out. Takes place in Dublin. Has a comedic side to it, a little adventure thriller, and romance, of course.
Awesome.
So that's all the time we have for today. I'm Anita Kelly, and thanks for joining Liz Talk About Books, baby. Until next time, may your journey be lighthearted, peace be plenty, and be safe, folks.